Hey, altruistic followers and genuine well-wishers. I presume you and your beloved are healthy. It is social activist come good-hearted preacher Suresh back with a sheer ecstasy for my 117th video on unveil of publication on YouTube today, 4th December 2020 Friday. The topic for today is causes and consequences of female infanticide and feticide. First, I want to differentiate what is feticide and infanticide. Feticide is aborting the babies, medical termination of pregnancy of female fetuses. Infanticide is after the baby is born. Okay. Female infanticide is a deliberate killing of newborn female children. In countries with a history of female infanticide, the modern practice of sex selective abortion, I don't like to say sex selective, gender selective abortion, also known as medical termination of pregnancy, is often discussed as a closely related issue. Female infanticide is a major cause of concern in several nations such as China, India, and Pakistan. It has been argued that the low status in which women are viewed in patriarchal societies creates a bias against females. In 1978, anthropologist Lila Williams, in a summary of data she had collated on how widespread infanticide was, found that infanticide had occurred at every continent and was carried out by groups ranging from hunter-gatherers to highly developed societies, and that rather than this practice being an exception, it has been commonplace. The practice has been well documented among the indigenous people of Australia, Northern Alaska, and South Asia, and Barbara Miller argues the practice to be almost universal, even in the West. Miller contends that female infanticide is commonplace in regions where women are not employed in agriculture and regions in which dowry is the norm. In 1871, in The Descent of Man and Selection in Relation to Sex, Charles Darwin wrote that the practice was commonplace among the Aboriginal tribes of Australia in 1990s. Amartya Sen is a Nobel Prize winner for economics, an Indian, writing in the New York Review of Books, estimated that there were 100 million fewer women in Asia than would be expected, and this amount of missing women tells us quietly a terrible story of inequality and neglect leading to the excess mortality of women. Initially, Sen's suggestion of gender bias was contested, and it was suggested that hepatitis B was the main cause of the alteration in the natural sex ratio, gender ratio. However, it is now widely accepted that the numerical worldwide deficit in women is due to gender-specific abortions, infanticide, and neglect. In 7th century Arabia, before Islamic culture became established, female infanticide was widely practiced. This is attributed by scholars to the fact that women were deemed property within those societies. Others have speculated that to prevent their daughters from a life of misery, the mothers would kill the child. With the arrival of the Islamic rule, the practice was made illegal. Even Bible preachers killing children, either infanticide or feticide, is a crime, and it's Lord Jesus' commandment. Are they following it? China has a history of female infanticide spanning 2000 years. The majority of China's provinces practiced female infanticide during the 19th century. In China, the practice of female infanticide was not wholly condoned. Buddhism, in particular, was quite forceful in its condemnation of it. Buddhists wrote that the killing of young girls would bring bad karma. Conversely, those who saved young girls' life, either through intervening or through presence of money or food, would earn good karma, leading to a prosperous life, a long life, and success for their sons. However, the Buddhist belief in reincarnation meant that the death of an infant was not final, as the child would be reborn. This belief is the guilt felt over female infanticide. The Confucian attitude towards female infanticide was conflicted. By placing value on age over youth, Confucian filial piety lessened the value of children. The Confucian emphasis on the family led to increasing dowries, which in turn led to a girl being far more expensive to raise than a boy, causing families to feel they could not afford as many daughters. Confucian custom of keeping the male within the family meant that the money spent on a daughter's upbringing along with the dowry would be lost when she marries, and as such, girls are called money losing merchandise. Conversely, the Confucian belief uh, of Ren led Confucian intellectuals to support the idea that female infanticide was wrong and that the practice would upset the balance between yin and yang. The dowry system in India is given one reason for female infanticide. Over a time period spanning centuries, it has become embedded within Indian culture. Although the state has taken steps to abolish the dowry system, the practice persists, and for poorer families in rural regions, female infanticide and gender selective abortion is attributed to the fear of being unable to raise a suitable dowry and then being socially ostracized. In 1789, during British colonial rule in India, the British discovered that female infanticide in Uttar Pradesh was openly acknowledged. Uttar Pradesh is one state where nearly 20% of India's population resides, as per the census. A letter from a magistrate who was stationed in the northwest of India during this period spoke of the fact that for several hundred years no daughter had ever been raised in the strongholds of the Rajas of Mainpuri. In 1845, however, the ruler at that time did keep a daughter alive after a district collector named Irvin intervened. A review of scholarship has shown that the majority of female infanticides in India during the colonial period occurred for the most part in the northwest, and that although not all groups carried out this practice, it was indeed widespread. In 1870, after an investigation by colonial authorities, the practice was made illegal, and with the Female Infanticide Prevention Act 1870. According to rights activist Dana Fernandez, some practices are so deeply embedded within Indian culture, it is almost impossible to do away with them. It has become part and parcel of the thing, life. And she said that India is undergoing a type of female genocide. Genocide is racial killing. This is similar to the United Nations has declared that India is the most deadly country for female children, and that in 2012, female children aged between 1 and 5 are 75% more likely to die as opposed to boys. Children's Rights Group CRY has estimated that of the 12 million females born yearly in India, 1 million will have died within the first year of life. During British rule, the practice of female infanticide in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu among the Kallas and the Todas was reported. More recently, in June 1986, it was reported by India Today in a cover story, Born to Die. A female infanticide was still in practice in Uslampatti in southern Tamil Nadu. The practice was mostly prevalent among the dominant caste of the region. Kallars, despite this practice being severely punishable according to the Islamic law, there have been cases of female infanticide in Pakistan due to a few reasons. For example, children being born out of wedlock and then killed to avoid the stigma of illegitimacy, so-called love children. Okay, Pakistan is still a male-dominated nation. And remains a patriarchal society. In addition, the boys in the family are given a preferential treatment. Receiving food and medical care before the girls do. Having a child out of wedlock in Pakistan is culturally taboo. When women give birth to their babies, they often kill them to escape the shame or persecution. However, the ratio of female babies being killed in these cases is much higher than the boys, because boys are much more valued. Infanticide is illegal in Pakistan. However, people do not report these cases, making it impossible for the police to investigate. According to National Right to Live News, in 2017, only one case was actually reported, but 345 babies were found dead in Pakistan capital between January 2017 and spring of 2018. Eliminating females poses an issue as this reduces the number of females that will be able to bear children. It also poses an issue with the feelings of female worth, as families wanting to eradicate female babies teach the young girls in the society that they are inferior to the opposite sex, making it more likely that they face oppression and have reduced access to jobs. The dowry system has an effect on the families and poverty line, as some families struggle to pay a dowry while earning below the minimum wage. As of 2017, Pakistan women earn less than their male counterparts, earning under 100 rupees a month, and are often unable to receive an education that would allow them to have better working hours and pay. Some are also restricted to only working within the home, while men are allowed to do the majority of crop work and herding. In many countries, female infanticide is associated with socio-economic struggles. A study done in India found the socio-economic reasons associated with female infanticide. The study found that the economic utility indicates that boys are valued more than girls due to the fact that boys can work and bring in money to the household. Due to the socio-cultural utility factor of female infanticide, for many cultures, having a boy in the families is mandatory in order to carry out the legacy of the family line. Okay, in Hindus, there is a practice of setting who lights up the funeral pyre. Only the boys can do it. Only the son has a right, not the girl. There is also a religious factor in female infanticide. Many believe that men are the only ones that can provide, and sons are viewed as mandatory in order to kindle the funeral pyre of their late parents and assist in the soul salvation. This is what I said. There are non-government developmental organizations, NGDOs, which have gender awareness policies that are designed to prevent female discrimination all over the world. For instance, these NGDOs, starting off in small groups, go to corporations to educate the staff about gender discrimination. The organization mostly sees the importance of educating the men who are in the workforce on the issues of women within society. Therefore, the men are able to sympathize with the women in terms of how being a woman in society may make you feel inferior. Another solution would be to eradicate the dowry system so that families will not have to pay such a heavy price for their daughters. Also, with the eradication of the system, it will eliminate the idea that females are seen as financial burden. It will allow females to become individuals, being able to raise their social status in terms of women being provided with a better salary. The Girl Child Protection Scheme is an organization that is designed to set up cradles near stores so that families who have mostly daughters may leave them in a safe place instead of engaging in the practice of killing the female. Therefore, this allows the government to take over and place a female child up for adoption. Educating young girls and women about the purpose of female infanticide will help them to become aware of how important women are in society, being able to become independent. Also, with the more women being able to contribute to the workforce, society will be able to move above the poverty line. Implementing gender education within schools and the workplace will add to gender neutrality within society, increasing the value of women. Sympathizing with the women's suffrage in countries limiting women's rights will add to the battle in which women fight for freedoms in their home state. Building upon gender equality in education and teaching women strategies to cope with their situations will help them grow confidence and want to spread their knowledge and passions within their female children. The issue with female infanticide is that women devalue their own gender. When mothers give away their female children, it only adds to the lesser image of women. Yeah, it's not only the humans, even dogs. No, when people go for buying dogs, they go for only male pups. They do not want to go for female pups. Having women respect themselves and their own children for who they are will increase the population and it will increase the value of women. It may take a long time to implement these changes in society, but societal revision is a slow process. Education, value in life, and passion for gender are all aspects of decreasing female infanticide. Having locations to rid of a female child, such as the Girl Child Protection Scheme, appears as a step towards change. The program only adds to the availability and opportunity for female infanticide, instrumentalizing gender education and value of life will greatly inspire change in societies that participate in such process of termination. Due to the male surplus in countries that practice female infanticide, there are consequences. One of the consequences resulting from this male surplus in these populations is too many males not having females to marry. In these particular countries, males are expected to follow tradition, marry to procreate and have children. In Hindu epic Mahabharata, Panjali, also known as Draupadi, marries five Pandavas. It was not because there was a shortage of males at that time. It was because their mother tells Arjuna, share it with the brothers, thinking that it's okay. It's a problem with the word he said, kani, kani, and all that. Okay, kani means fruit in Tamil. She thought it is kan. She thought it was kani. Actually, what he said was a girl, kani. In Nepal, females are very limited, and it's a common practice of one female marrying even five brothers, even now. Do we want that to happen in all countries? In India, too, the male-female ratio is skewed, and that gap is widening as days progress. The Geneva Center for the Democratic Control of Armed Forces (DCAF) wrote in the 2005 report, "Women in an Insecure World," that at the time, the number of casualties in war had fallen. A secret genocide was being carried out against women. According to BCAF, the demographic shortfall of women who died for gender-related issues is in the same range as the 191 million estimated dead from all conflicts in the 21st century. In 2012, the documentary "It's a Girl: The Three Deadliest Words in the World" was released, and in one interview, an Indian woman claimed she had killed 8 of her daughters. Is this an achievement, something out of one has to be proud of, Dumbo? Your mother should have done that. Gender selective abortions, an increase in number of female infanticide cases have become a significant social phenomenon in several parts of India. It transcends all caste, class, and communities, and even the north-south dichotomy. The girl children become target of attack even before they are born. Numerous scholars have observed the latest advances in modern medical sciences, that tests like amniocentesis and ultrasound, which were originally designed for detection of congenital abnormalities of the fetus, are being misused for knowing the gender of the fetus with the intention of aborting it if it happens to be that of a female. The worst situation is that when these abortions are carried out well beyond the safe period of 12 weeks, endangering the woman's life. Abortion Center in Mumbai, after undertaking the sex determination test, I would say gender, out of 15,914 abortions performed during 1984-85, almost 100% were those of girl fetuses. Most of the abortions are conducted illegally in illegal abortion centers, or paramedical staff, or fake doctors. Similarly, a survey report of Women's Center in Mumbai found that out of 8,000 fetuses aborted in 6 city hospitals, 7,900 fetuses were of girls. It is reported that about 4,000 female babies are aborted in Tamil Nadu every year. Sex determination tests, okay, gender determination tests are widely resorted to even in the remotest rural areas. Since most deliveries in rural areas take place at home, there is no record of the exact number of births, deaths that take place. It is done by midwives. Therefore, it is difficult to assess the magnitude of the problem. Moreover, the fact remains that the right to be born are being denied to the female child. Since all religions treated abortion as immoral and contrary to divine law, this blanket ban on abortion resulting in illegal abortions and risking the life of the woman. Through a series of government circulars, though a series of government circulars banned the gender determination test, Everywhere they say sex. That means, okay. That's from 1977 onwards. A field study conducted in Mumbai by Sanjeev Kulkarni in 1986 brought to light the fact that 84% of the gynecologists admitted to having performed the amniocentesis test for gender determination. Of these, 74% gynecologists had started performing the test since 1982, and only a few cases of genetic defects were detected. The overwhelming majority of patients, most of whom were from middle or upper middle class, were only interested in knowing the gender of the fetus so that they can abort it. Interestingly, Bandavar found that 64% of the abortion service providers were against gender selective abortions. 10% said they were against it but had to do it, and the rest were about 24% approved the practice of gender selective abortions. Although there was not much variation among service providers working in public or private health care facilities or rural urban location, but difference was found among men and women service providers. About 28% men approved of gender selective abortions practice, whereas it was only 17% in case of women providers. Thus it was higher percentage of women providers, 68% compared to men. Most of the gynecologists are females. Everybody knows that. Who are against such a practice, at least in underdeveloped and developing countries. Those who disapproved of the practice of gender selective abortions but engaged in it against the principles express their compulsions and helplessness for two reasons. Due to pressures arising out of unhealthy competition in the healthcare service sector, it was said that if they did not provide abortion care services, some others would have provided them, and implications in terms of persistent abuse and exploitation that the women have to face back home in case they did not get the abortion done. Many talked of compulsions that women have at their ends to go for gender selective abortions. These arise either out of social norms fostering son preference because their lives are put at stake in case they do not produce a son. Some also said that unwanted girls ran the risk of severe ill treatment as their natal homes, causing them emotional and mental trauma. Hence, the service providers empathize with the woman's social needs for gender selective abortions. Nearly 10,000 cases of female feticide have been reported from Ahmedabad alone in Gujarat. Additional threat that causes grave concern is the development of new pre-selection techniques such as electrophoresis, Erickson's method, etc., which involve prior manipulation of the gender of the child. What will be the future of the female race is a moot question. There is a dearth of empirical data on this subject. Sections 312 to 316 of the Indian Penal Code (IPC) deal with the miscarriage and death of an unborn child, and depending on the severity and intention with which crime is committed. This is India. Penalties range from 7 years of life imprisonment for 14 years and fine. Until 1970, the provisions contained in the Indian Penal Code governed the law on abortion. The Indian Penal Code 1860 permitted legal abortions did without criminal intent and in good faith for the express purpose of saving the life of the mother in case of medical complications. Liberalization of abortion laws was also advocated as one of the measures of population control. With these considerations, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act was passed in July 1971, which came into force in April 1972. This law was conceived as a tool to let the pregnant women decide on the number and frequency of children. It further gave them the right to decide on having or not having the child. However, this good intention step was being used to force women to abort the female child. In order to do away with the lacuna inherent in previous legislation, the Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques Regulation and Prevention of Misuse Act had to be passed in 1994, which came into force in January 1996. The Act prohibited the determination of gender of the fetus and stated punishment for the violation of the provisions. It also provided for mandatory registration of genetic counseling centers, clinics, hospitals, nursing homes, etc. Thus, both these laws were meant to protect the childbearing function of the woman and to legitimize the purpose for which prenatal tests and abortions could be carried out. However, in practice, we find that these provisions have been misused and are proving against the interests of the females. Another form of eliminating the girl child has been the practice of female infanticide. Sometimes they give them poison and kill them, sometimes they drown them, sometimes they sacrifice for financial gains. It's a deliberate and intentional act of killing a female child within 1 year of its birth, either directly by using poisonous organic and inorganic chemicals or indirectly by deliberate neglect to feed the infant by either one of the parents or other family members and neighbors or by the midwife. Kollur in 1990 defines infanticide as killing of an entirely dependent child under 1 year of age, infant, who is killed by mother, parents, or others in whose care the child is entrusted. It is unfortunate that the parents also view her as a liability. This attitude is rooted in a complex set of social, cultural, and economic factors. It is a dowry system, lack of economic independence, social customs, and traditions that have uh, relegated the female to a secondary status. The degree may vary, but the neglect of the girl child and discrimination goes hand in hand. It is reported that female infanticide existed in India since 1789 in several districts of Rajasthan, along the western shores in Gujarat, Surat, and Kutch, and among a clan of Rajputs in eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. Desai reported that female infanticide was so widespread in Jadeja Rajput families of Kutch and Saurashtra that only 5 of such families were found who had not killed their newborn daughters. There are alarming reports of the baby girls being murdered even in areas where this practice did not exist earlier. Poverty, ignorance of family planning, cost of dowry, etc., have been reported as a possible causes for this crime. Prevalence of female infanticide in the post-independence period has been reported from Madurai district of Tamil Nadu, Bihar, Orissa, Rajasthan, and Maharashtra. According to Chunkat and Atreya in 1997, there is a contagious female infanticide belt that starts from Madurai, extends across the districts of Dindigul, Karur, Erode, Salem, Dharmapuri to North Arcot districts of Tamil Nadu in India. Official records indicate that 1,747 female infants have been killed since 1989 in 19 blocks of Salem district alone. Government hospital records show that out of 600 girl babies born among colors, 570 babies vanish every year. Vanish, no trace. And out of these, 450 are victims of infanticide. Based on researches conducted in 12 villages, KV Kuppam block, North Arcot, Ambedkar district in Tamil Nadu, Jarjatal in 1992 reported that among the 56 deaths, 23 were of females and 33 of females. Out of the 33 female deaths, 19 cases were of infanticide and 17 of these occurred within 7 days of birth. Except one, all other cases involved death of a higher birth order child. Normally, it was the second or third girl child who became victims of infanticide. In Erode and Salem districts of Tamil Nadu, this practice is found to be widely prevalent. Out of the 1,250 families interviewed, more than 5.1% are found to have practiced it over the last 2 years. In Tamil Nadu, the overall juvenile gender ratio has fallen down sharply from 948 in 1991 to 939 in 2001. Census of India 2001. This is for so many females for every 1,000 males. Sen estimated that about 30 million women were missing from the Indian population. Missing. Such violent criminal acts have attacked the dignity of women as human beings and have left them more more vulnerable and fearful. A study conducted by Premi and Raju in Bindu district in Madhya Pradesh and Bama and Jaisalmer districts in Rajasthan found that female infanticide was community specific. Villages that were inhabited entirely are predominantly by Gujars, Yadavs, Agir, and the Rajputs had the lowest gender ratio. In multi-caste villages, the chances of female infanticide reduced very substantially. The twin process of elimination of unborn daughters, the slow killing through neglect and discrimination of those that are born has become a matter of concern. According to Crime in India in 2000, feticide cases reported an increase of 49.2% over previous year, and infanticide cases increased by 19.5% over previous year. A large majority, 95.24%, had nuclear families, and nearly two-thirds, 71.43%, had two to three girl children. The women respondents reported facing problems in the family and psychological disturbance because of giving birth to the girl child and regretted being women. Girl child was considered a liability by 90.48% of them, though interestingly, none of them thought educating the girl was necessary, in spite of the fact that their own educational background was very dismal. 83.33% were illiterate. Employment status showed that more than half, 52.38%, worked as coolies, daily laborers, whereas unorganized in the unorganized sectors, whereas 42.86% were unemployed. The monthly earnings in majority of the cases range between rupees 1,000 to 2,000. Almost all the respondents stated that burden of dowry and poverty were the two main reasons for infanticide. However, 76.19% stated fear of safety for the girl as the main reason for female infanticide, and 83.33% accepted son preference because it is a male who carries a family lineage. Overwhelming majority, 83.33% of the respondents believe that they would have committed female infanticide if the voluntary organization would not have intervened and provided economic assistance, incentives, and awareness generation. Only 4.76% of the respondents said that they were afraid of the laws enacted by the government. Most of the women reported that they killed their babies under pressure from their husbands. Many a time, the husbands would beat up their wives and force them to kill the female child because she is an economic burden. Such situations occur more so among poverty-stricken families. Stevenson states that the specter of domestic violence chokes their voices and silences their opposition to attitudes and practices derogatory to their dignity. The social reality does not allow women to protest against any suggestion or coercion to get the female child aborted. It is unthinkable that any woman would readily agree to be a party to the crime. They do so under male pressure, coercion and domination. Thus, willingly and unwillingly, they become party to the crime, for they have no control even over their bodies. National Plan of Action exclusively for the girl child in 1991 to 2000 was formulated in 1992 for the survival, protection, and development of the girl children. The plan recognized the rights of the girl child to equal opportunity to be free from hunger, illiteracy, ignorance, and exploitation. Towards ensuring survival of the girl child, objectives are prevent cases of female feticide and infanticide, and ban the practice of amniocentesis tests for gender determination. End gender disparity, in infant mortality rate, eliminate gender disparities in feeding practices, expand nutritional interventions to reduce severe malnourishment by half, and provide supplementary nutrition to adolescent girls in need. reduce deaths due to diarrhea by 50% among girl children under 5 years, and ensure immunization against all forms of serious illnesses, and provide safe drinking water and ensures access to fodder and drinking water near a home. The launching of the Balika Samriddhi Yojana in 1997 is a major initiative to government to raise the overall status of the girl child. It intends to change family and community attitudes towards her and her mother. Under this scheme, about 25 lakh girl children born every year in families below the poverty line are to be benefited. The first component of the scheme, which has already been launched, is to provide 500 rupees as a post delivery grant to the mother of the girl child as a symbolic gift from the government. The other components proposed under the scheme are provision of annual scholarships to the beneficiaries when they go to school, and assistance for taking up an income generating activity when they attain the age of maturity, puberty. Okay. Besides having specific legislation and policy proclamations to deal with this menace, the precipitating factors such as dowry, poverty, and a woman's economic dependence, etc., leading to the problem of feticide and infanticide have been addressed by enacting various legislations as Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, amended in 1986, Hindu Marriage Act 1955, Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956, Immoral Traffic Prevention Act 1986, Equal Remuneration Act 1976, etc. These and various other legislations, policy proclamations intend to bring about women's economic and social empowerment to the maximum, and it is hoped that such measures would equip women to exercise their rights. Legally, infanticide amounts to homicide, and all legal provisions applicable to the offense of homicide are applicable to infanticide. 2. Section 318, concealment of birth by secret disposal of the dead body amounts to culpable homicide. The National Plan of Action for the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation (SAP) Decade of the Girl Child in 1991 to 2006 to ensure the equality of status for the girl child by laying down specific goals for a dignified survival and development without discrimination. The codified law world over considers human life as sacred, and specific legal provisions have been devised to protect the lives of the born and unborn. However, the objective of the law gets defeated due to the lacuna in the law, lack of proper implementation. Even though the law is a powerful instrument of change, yet law alone cannot root out this social problem. The girls are devalued not only because of the economic considerations, but also because of social cultural factors such as the belief that son extends the lineage, enlarges the family tree, provides protection of safety and security to the family, and is necessary for salvation as he alone can, by the funeral pyre and perform other death-related rites and rituals. In Hindu societies, it is a boy that stays with the parents and takes care of the parents. Those things are gone now. It's our nuclear families, joint families are gone. Whereas the girl has to live with the in the boys with the boys family. That was an old custom. Those things have changed. Evidence indicates that the problem of female feticide and infanticide is more prevalent in Orthodox families. It is therefore essential that these social cultural factors be tackled by changing the thought process through awareness generation, mass appeal, and social action. In addition to these, all concerned, that is, religious and social leaders, voluntary organizations, women's groups, socially responsible media, the doctors, the medical council association, by enforcing medical ethics and penalties bound deviant doctors, and the law enforcement personnel should work in a coordinated way. Every year, as millions of women marry, they dream of starting a family or having their homes filled with the tiny cries and the happy laughter of gargling babies. In India, however, pregnancy is too often followed by the question of whether the unborn child is a girl or a boy. The traditional joint family is patriarchal, even though migration and increasing urbanization has led to more nuclear families. The patriarchal ways are still embedded in the psyche of the Indian mindset. Despite the legal emancipation of women in India, their education and employment in modern occupations, the traditional bias regarding female children has not undergone a change. In most parts of the country, son is a major obsession. One son is cause for joy, while two are seen as a lifetime for celebration. The traditional thinking being that if one dies, at least the other will live to take care of the parents. In the bargain, pressures on the woman to produce a son are unending. The girl child is seen as an economic drain, as a marriage and dowry crushes her family under a huge burden of debts. The problem of female feticide has received little attention. The female fetus is readily sacrificed on the altar of expediency, individual convenience, and legal technicalities. Each access to the techniques of gender determination has given rise to female feticide. In many countries, modern techniques of ultrasound scans and unitary sex testing, which are basically designed to make pregnancy safer, are ironically being abused for female feticide. Millions of female fetuses are aborted, creating a serious gender imbalance to give rise to other social problems in India and a few other South Asian countries. The study reveals that in a year around 6 million abortions took place, out of which a few thousand are legal. In South Korea, 20,000 females are aborted every year. The same is true with China and several other third world countries. This gruesome act often goes unnoticed and unreported, so there can be no direct evidence to establish the existence of this inhuman act. However, there are some indicators which lead us to a positive conclusion about the existence of this practice. One of the best indicators is the male-female gender ratio. Gender ratio is defined as number of females per thousand males. Global population has increased threefold during the 20th century, from 2 billion to 6 billion. The population of India has increased nearly 5 times, from 23 million, 23 crores to 1 billion in the same period. The UN Statistical Office and Populations Division points out that gender ratios in India seems to suggest that it's an exception to the global rule that girls have a better survival rate than boys since they are biologically stronger. The gender ratio at the international level is an average of 1,050 females for every 1,000 males. In India, the gender ratio has steadily been declining over the years, with the last census showing a gender ratio of 945 women to 1,000 men. Thus, this indicates a significantly high number of missing women. Missing women denotes a difference between the expected and actual number of living females. Sadly, a majority of female feticide cases involve the enthusiastic participation of women, both old and young. To add fuel to the fire, the unethical gender determination and selective abortion of female infants has become a booming industry. It works out to 224 million US dollars. Money has become this is a very old figure. Money has become a dangerous incentive for this transgression. The cause of female feticide lies within the cultural norms as well as the socio-economic policies of the country where the practice prevails. Most infected are the South Asian countries like China, India, Vietnam, and Korea, but the social evil has mushroomed in Western countries too, like the US and Canada. Immigration that has brought cultural preferences for female feticide across the pond. Reasons for female infanticide and feticide are: male children are better investment, female children are a gamble, women do not have a status in society, foul medical ethics, industrial growth. As Newton's third law of motion states, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. The after effects of the genocide of female feticide are far reaching. Blinded by the desire for male children, the majority of parents are ignorant of the disaster they unwittingly invite by indulging in female feticide. This results in adverse consequences: skewed gender ratio, female women trafficking, increase in rape and assault, population decline. The issues of female infanticide, female feticide, and selective gender abortion have gained global attention, and many international nation law-making bodies have come forward to stop this cruel practice. Also, numerous steps taken to curb the matter. The prominent ones are cancellation, permanent termination of the doctor's license who aborts a fetus simply because of its gender, heavy penalty imposed on companies like GE, General Electric, that specialize in marketing medical equipment used for illegal gender determination and abortion in unlicensed clinics and hospitals, high fines and judicial action against parents to enlighten them about the ill effects of female infanticide. Feticide. Ignorance is one of the major causes of selective gender abortion cases. Spreading awareness can go a long way in saving our future sisters, mothers, girlfriends, and wives. A cohesive and concerted effort by everyone can prove to be the requisite baby step in the right direction. We might not support the notion of women rising above men, becoming the dominant gender, or conquering the world, but the basic human consideration to let an innocent child live and see the world she was conceived to grow in is not too much to ask. You know about the glass ceiling? That is, ladies, however smart they are, they cannot rise to the top of the organizations, to the top level. That has changed. Let's not be murderers of our own flesh and blood. Debates, discussion, and open-ended topics like this can go on forever. Anyhow, let me pull the plug here. We meet again real soon with another interesting topic. Some of the statements views expressed are solely mine, based on limited knowledge gained over 6 decades of versatile experience. Always watch these videos with closed caption, subtitles for absolute 100% comprehension as per my sincere recommendation zillion times so far. I know I rushed through to complete the presentations in 20 minutes maximum. This time limit is self-imposed to retain the viewer's attention as a norm. I am quite aware of the fact that I exceed this time limit. Sometimes I take double or even triple this time depending on the topic. Since I make honest attempts to cover the selected topic more elaborately, including so many intricate fine details, referring a wide variety of sources, in particular Wikipedia quite extensively, besides articles and books published recently. Besides, of course, I sprinkle my own salt and pepper and season it with my personal experiences so far in my life and also intuition. Stay at home as much as possible to maintain social distancing attributed to pandemic novel COVID-19 and prolong your lifespan, lead a healthy life. God, also known as the Supreme Power, is the one and only one who can put a stop to natural and unnatural events like maybe bio or cyber war events like pandemics and epidemics, which ultimately paves the way for apocalypse and extinction of sentient species on Earth for no fault of Earth, no fault of theirs. Rest in peace and harmony. Today I have taken 47 minutes.